Do you hear that? It's something quite extraordinary. If you pay attention and listen closely, you'll hear the stories of senior executives transforming brands and the experiences of real people in their natural habitat with those very same brands. Follow your host, Dennis Wakabayashi, as he pulls out his microphone to capture authentic reactions from the people he meets as he travels around the world. These are unrehearsed, unsponsored, and real conversations about CX that you won't find anywhere else. This is CX in the Wild.
All right, Macario Namie, it's so nice to catch up with you here at the Reuters Customer Service and Experience 2022 event. You know, I just bumped into you. I'm walking around the floor. I know that you're a major sponsor of this event.
Yes.
It'd be great just to learn a little bit more about what your company is doing, why you're at this event. Just help me get to know you before I have to announce you on stage.
Sure. Well, hey, I appreciate you spending a couple minutes to get to understand a little bit about what we do. ASAP has been around for about 8 years. We're really founded on the premise that you can use machine learning and other AI disciplines to make people more productive at the work that they do.
Okay.
And this is one of the hardest disciplines within sort of the broader sort of AI or computer science domain, trying to deeply understand how do people work in an effort to try and not replace them per se, but to augment them in such a way to make them more productive. Not 5% more productive, but like 100% more productive, make them twice as productive. And we focus on the broader CX domain and more specifically contact centers. And so if we can make an agent twice as productive, that is the same economic benefit as eliminating 50% of the calls that come into that contact center. So much enthusiasm in the CX domain has been focused on things like deflection and containment and keep the calls away from ever reaching my agents. And we'll say that what we've witnessed over the last several years, as companies been making these investments in things like IVRs or their digital equivalent of bots, we ask every company that we talk to, well, how many agents have you eliminated? What is your workforce? It must have gone down, 10, 20, 30% with all this investment in your IVR and bots. Not a single company has told us that they've actually reduced the agent population. In fact, most have said, no, we've actually hired more agents. It's like, well, wait a second. That model of like we can just deflect away it all just doesn't work. The state of the art of technology doesn't work. And we believe the next great opportunity and really untapped opportunity is looking at the labor force people have and how can we make them more successful, more productive, more effective at serving customers. That's really our focus today.
So, there's a lot of talk about AI, and
100%.
Like half the people I talk to have an AI
Totally.
subhead. What I'm seeing in the world, not just in CX, is there are augmented humans. When you just simply take a business person who has a smartphone versus a business person who doesn't have a smartphone, there's an augmentation. The technology creates a new advantage.
Yeah.
And so I can understand how AI enabling humans to do more, maybe be faster, how that makes sense. Where I often struggle to see a clear story there is, yes, the promise of technology plus humans. Can you just unpack for me how ASAP builds that integration between technology and humans,
Yeah.
and not from a corporate perspective, not a business perspective. I'm a human. How am I supposed to make friends with this AI from ASAP's perspective?
Yeah, sure. So the vision and the ambition is large, but the capability set is a lot more practical. So what we do is we have multiple different services and applications that are used in different parts within the contact center operations. But let me give you two examples.
Yeah.
We have a product that we call AutoCompose. It's a simple API and SDK that is for agents who support customers via messaging, so chat, web chat or text chat, and in the course of a chat interaction, I think we've all done this. As consumers, we've all sort of tried to say, well, maybe I can get my service over chat instead of having to like wait on the phone
I'm
and do
right
it
there
forever.
with you.
So we've all experienced what that looks like. If you look at it from the agent perspective, there's typically between 10 and 15 messages, unique messages that are sent from the agent to the customer in the course of that interaction.
Okay.
And in the absence of any technology, they're typing every single one.
Yes.
The average typing time, this is for the customers that we serve, and we tend to serve larger B2C enterprises. The average time it takes is about 21 seconds to go think about what am I going to type, actually type it up and hit send. 21 seconds. So what companies have done to try and provide some productivity is they'll say, well, what if I had some kind of like hand response library? Maybe we'll use fancy names like knowledge bases and smart replies.
Yeah.
And those systems today, at best, take away about 10 to 20% of those messages. Typically the easy stuff. Greetings. Hello, how are you? Thank you for contacting us. How can I help you today? Because it's the same. It's really easy to create a real simple script that people can copy paste. Or closings. Thank you for contacting us. Did I help you? Is there anything else I can help you with? Please rate me 5 stars.
Yeah.
So about 10 to 20%. 20% is the maximum we've ever seen. But that's still only, one or two messages? And then the rest of it is still really the bulky, hard, complex conversation that goes back and forth from a customer. It can go in any direction. What we've done is we learn from every single interaction that an agent has, that the entire agent population has. We understand from our customers what do the best agents do? And the best is somewhat subjective. So we look for what was the outcomes that were the best outcomes, and those are really the best agents. For every single intent or call reason, chat reason in this case, what do the best agents say and do at every turn of the conversation?
It sort of reminds me of like my Spotify playlist. I like this agent, and here's a playlist of other agent conversations that match that same vibe.
Exactly.
And
so what
energy.
Spotify does is it learns your listening habits. It learns when you accepted one of their suggestions, you're like, because maybe they're going to give you like a radio or a random playlist, and it knows when you said, I don't like that, skip ahead, or it knows that you actually listened to it. Well, we're doing the same thing. We're watching what the agents are doing, we're watching what they're actually saying, and learning from them. And so what auto-compose actually then does is, based off of those learnings, at every turn of the conversation, we're making suggestions to the agent on here's what you should be saying. Those suggestions come in an entire phrase. It could be that maybe the agent didn't like that phrase, so they didn't accept it, but they started typing instead. Every time you hit a new key on your keyboard, those suggestions are changing. And so we're completing sentences, we're fixing spelling and grammar. And so the agent is actually getting what should be the best response during that course of the conversation. So for us, for those 10 messages that get sent by an agent, 7 in 10 are actually being clicked on by an agent. So there's no longer typing. It's not 21 seconds, it's 1 second to click, and it automatically
Is it safe to say it's like customer care autocorrect?
In some ways, autocorrect says I'm fixing a mistake. Auto suggest is a key part of how we think about it. Is that we're automatically suggesting to you 3 responses that are constantly changing. Like every time a customer sends a new message, or every time you're typing something, we're constantly changing, trying to predict what should be the best thing for you to say. We don't take it on your behalf. This is not about a bot trying to think we're smarter than you. This is about helping you as an agent with all of your creativity and your understanding of the customer dynamics and your empathy to choose the best response. We're trying to effectively augment the work that you do. So if we can eliminate 7 out of 10 messages to go from 21 seconds to 1 second, and 70% utilization is what we've achieved with our customers, that's a massive economic benefit. That actually takes about 25% away of handle time, actual work time across the chat, across the totality of the chat. And it increases the ability to have more concurrent conversations, which is the economic benefit for the company, by 64%. So this is not about bots trying to replace people. That is a technology set that has its place, but doesn't do anything to help the agents. Our job is to help the agents actually do the work that they do, and make them better, more effective, and more productive.
So let me unpack some of this. So Here's what I think. I think there's a lot of skepticism in this space.
Sure.
And
There's too much noise in this space.
there's a lot of noise and there's a lot of skepticism. And here's some truth about this whole conversation. I think there were a lot of skeptics in just continuing in the music industry. Okay, you needed to have big infrastructure. You had to have all these, let's say, traditional methodologies in place. But then a whole generation of SoundCloud musicians were able to say, you know what, I'm going to take the technology and these tools and these formats, and I'm going to create something that works for the world. And they were able to scale it. And it sounds to me like, not to say you're a SoundCloud angle, but it is more of there is a group of people who recognize these digital tool sets. They use it to make people better at what their passion is, and let's just call customer care a passion.
Yeah.
So they do that, and it sounds like you're in that space of innovators who are trying to make customer care, and this is the real point of what I heard you say, is you're making customer care accessible to a wider range of workers. Because what I think is the world is opening up to CX from a enterprise level perspective. We know we need more humans and machines together to scale the relationships between businesses and customers.
Yeah.
But the skill sets, I got to imagine that the customer care workforce is growing exponentially worldwide with varying degrees of sophistication, education. But with your tool, it sounds like you could make a wider range of people create better experiences. And in some ways, you're sort of bringing humans along, learning how to be better with customer care. Is kind of like you led with that.
100%. And the beauty of these sort of garage band apps and like
okay, thanks for glowing out. I saw you look at that. Like, where'd you
go? My older son is taking drum lessons, and I was like, and that's the era that I grew up in. It's like, if you want to make music, you have to learn an instrument. And the truth is, he doesn't have to.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
But he's
real tracking.
But going and buying the GarageBand app or going to SoundCloud doesn't make music for you. But it taps into your creativity and makes everything else easier. And so it takes that learning part of how do you actually play an instrument, it takes that part out of the equation, and it gives you the output. And allows you to have the creativity of taking those outputs and putting them together in new and amazing ways. And it's not. I love the analogy. I'm going to steal it.
Okay, thank you. I hope I was drifting.
For us, can we take away the how do I solve this customer's problem? How do I go find the information to satisfy their need? All of the things that makes the job really stressful for an agent, and allow them to do what they're really great at, frankly, what they were hired to do, which is to be able to provide empathy, to be able to understand the creative understanding of the customer's problem and how do you actually solve for it. And allow them, frankly, to be more human, because that's their role. We have plenty of bots, and the reason that agents are there are to be human and to provide that human experience. All of the great statistics you hear about the impact of great customer experience leads to more loyal customers and they buy more and all that good stuff. It's the human element in that. It's not the bot element.
Well, can I just say I'm so grateful that you went with me down the musical metaphor, because I've been talking to a lot of people about this stuff for the last couple of years, and it always just is so complicated. I'm trying to distill it for my audience. I'm like, AI, bots, chat, call times, blah. And the fact of the matter is, you just said something that sort of was an epiphany for me. All this time, I've heard all these conversations about machines learning and that being better. But what you just said is you make learning better, easier for the human. It's really human learning that you're doing that creates the value for the agent. And for the first time, I can see why an agent that has, I use Grammarly all the time.
Yeah.
It sounds similar to me. So if I was in my work and I had a passion to help people, consumers, or people get help, be a customer care leader, I would want a tool that auto suggested all of the best ways to make the relationship better. And not unlike, I very much appreciate all the suggestions Grammarly made. I wrote a book a year ago, and had I not had Grammarly, it would have been a non-go. I would have a
Yeah.
non-starter. I wouldn't have possibly been able to do that job. So it sounds like you're empowering agents. And can we somehow get on the record and into this conversation in the internet? I'm I really want to normalize customer care, human beings as special. You know, I I think that too many times we talk about this area of the industry as like a commodity. And these people, like whether we're talking about outsourcing, BPOs, it's like there's this commodity yuck that's all over it. And the fact of the matter is, when we're in the business setting, we're like, yeah, customer care agents are the front line, they're magical. But yeah, we hear that all the time. But if you and we're the customer and we call in, that relationship, I call American Airlines, and sometimes when I talk to those agents, I'm stressed out about my travel.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, I'm on the computer here. I can see the stuff. I know where your bags are. I know where you want to go. Let me look at the prices. And I'm like, thank you. Like, why is it that on one hand they're commodity, it's a commodity, and on the other hand they're like superheroes?
Yeah.
It's a weird.
Yeah, it's a really interesting space because everybody says all the right things. We love our
Exactly.
employees, the frontline. They are the most important part of the brand, and that's all true. But the economic consequences within the organization are like, we got to slash budget 10% every single year, and there's tremendous pressure. It's a very stressful job, so people don't stay very long, right? I spoke with this one company. They said, for every 10 people that we hire, 4 people don't show up on the first day for training. It's a 4-week training process. 3 people are gone by the end of the training. So we end up with 3 people at the end. Of every 10 people we hire, 3 people actually make it onto a call with a customer. And within 9 months, they're gone.
And then the churn, yeah.
And they said that most of the people who leave, she said, we're competing now with the fast food joints because the pay is the same.
Yeah.
And it's like, why take such a stressful job where you're, quote, getting yelled at every day versus a far less stressful for the exact same pay, frankly, flipping burgers, right? And so it's a difficult environment. And I think my guess is that I know you travel a lot based on our conversation, and you're an American guy, and you're based out of Dallas. So my guess is you have status with American. And so when you call in, you get the best. And the higher the status you go, I live in San Francisco. I'm a United guy. I was global services.
Just for the record, my status isn't that high. I just want to say, but yes, I'm a gold.
Yeah,
status.
but you get a different phone number than other folks, and you get routed to quote unquote the best agents. And so those people are the best because one, they obviously have the soft skills necessary, but they know how to get things done. They know the shortcuts in the system, and the myriad of back office applications that they have to go navigate. They know how to get it all done. Think about the frontline who've been there for 2 months, 6 months, and they're trying to figure all this stuff out. All the while, there's a customer who's anxious, who's frustrated, perhaps with an elevated voice, yelling at you. You're trying to figure all this stuff out. Just like, how do I solve this problem? What do I need to go do? That's all that stress of how do you actually solve the problem? That's what we're trying to take away.
Again, I'm following you. What you're saying is, I'm new on the job. I grew up in the 80s and 90s where you had an office buddy who you're like, how do I do this? And like, oh, click this, and oh, don't forget you got to enter in your time sheet in this way. In some ways, what you're doing is you're providing, I'm going to throw out weird words here, like a surrogate or an office buddy for a customer care person who's coming into a role. They see the opportunity. They're like, these jobs are open now. They kind of pay pretty well. I can do this, and I can do it maybe from home where I can take care of maybe some of my life.
Yeah.
And this, your solution is like a friend. That maybe that's a stretch, but it's an office buddy for a customer care person who wants to do a good job, and it's a continuous it's like a continuous support for a new agent, but also not focus on new agents, but your senior agents, your more experienced teams, the machines get the benefit of like taking all of those conversations and the solutions and empowering it through the line
That's
across
exactly
all
right.
levels of
So
the
if you can
organization.
understand, going back to what I said, this is one of the hardest problems in computer science, without getting too techie and wonky.
I can get techie and walky with you.
But how do you do your work? Like, tell me, Dennis, you're the best. What do you do? You couldn't tell me. You try and be like, well, I do this, and
I just literally tried to tell you before we started this conversation. I'm like, I have no idea what I do.
And so I can't just go ask you, well, what do the best do? I don't know. Let me go interview the best, and they'll tell me exactly what they do in every situation. No, that's not how humans work. So the next best thing is I'm going to go look over your shoulder, and I'm going to shout at you. Well, if you're running a contact center with 10,000 agents, how many people can you really go look over their shoulder and take such studious notes that you know exactly what they do in all situations? But machines can learn. Machines can observe
at scale, and with accuracy and efficiency.
And so now, our job on the technology side is to deeply understand how do you, Dennis, and the 9,999 other Dennis-like folks in this contact center, how do you actually do your work? How do you make the decisions? When do you say what you say? When do you do what you do? And in all the various permutations that have a contact center deals with, the different call reasons, different customer types, different products they support.
Let me jump in, because we're drifting off into jargon and big, here's what was going through my mind as I was listening to you talk tech. I follow this guy on TikTok, and what he does is he uses AI to create musical hits. Mm-hmm. He listens to the music and he says, give me something that's in this genre, that's like this and this. And the last two I listened to were stunningly good. They were like absolute bangers. Like I was like, this is gas. Somebody throw this in my playlist. So what I do know is that despite all of the hype, there are technology solutions that are listening and understanding the syncopation, the formula, the nuances of a job. And being a rock star has got to be one of the harder jobs to convey of how to be a hit. So to me, it's believable that you can have a series of agents, and just curious, you can say no comment. Does your system, does it grab the benefits of intelligence across multiple industries, or is it just specifically for one data set for one customer? Yeah. But it sounds like it's believable that a machine could listen and translate in an auto-suggest fashion like Grammarly some ways to make my job as an agent better. And I like that it serves businesses and you sell it. But what's more important to me is that people who are in this industry have less friction and their lives grow. That's the true nature of our industry, is to empower more people to collaborate for the success of brands. And so how did all that hit you?
So two things that you mentioned I want to touch on. Part of what is unique about ASAP is that we train our models on each customer's data. And so how you engage with American Airlines and the kinds of conversations American Airlines has with their customers is frankly different than even, say, JetBlue and how they engage with their customers. You would think it'd be somewhat similar, but their lexicon is different, how they phrase things are different, how they want to engage is different. So, both American Airlines and JetBlue are customers of ours. And we don't say we're going to have one generic way of all airlines all use the same stuff. Not at all. We have underlying technology and models that are serving particular purposes. One example was this auto compose capability I talked about. But the data that we train on is actually unique to that company. And so that is very different than almost any other company that I'm aware of. And so that is an approach. It means that we're really better suited for larger businesses because we don't go to market like Google say, here's an API and the entire world can use it. We can support, Alexa stuff, and we can support contact centers, and we can support sport. We don't do that. So The second, the now I forgot my second point, but
while you're thinking about that, because I'll come back to you, you said something. So you mentioned that you have some bigger clients. So first, couple of serious questions about the real. You, we all know that AI needs a lot of information to be smart, and your enterprise large clients, they're fertile ground for an algorithm,
Right.
certainly. And so I think that makes sense. And so question number one, is it your algorithm that's amazing and you plant it in these areas of information, or do you customize the algorithm for the client?
all of the
I mean, naturally, it automatically customizes itself, but is the root
it's trained and tuned for our particular customer.
okay?
The algorithms that are there, that's where the magic lies.
Yeah.
So
Let's
you
talk
know,
about the magic.
So for us, again, not to get too wonky, because you mentioned, and I think we all know this, there's way too much quote unquote AI noise out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Nobody can tell the
I'll
difference.
break it down metaphorically for our audience. You give it to me straight, I'll make a metaphor.
So, and frankly, if you're a person who's not all that versed or doesn't live in a world of AI research, like, how do you tell the difference between all of these guys, right? And so ultimately, part of what we ask our customers when we're posed with that question, we can say, hey, we can walk. We have a research organization. There's about 40 PhDs that just write university type papers, all of it, and we can get like, well, let's talk about our generative models and what we're doing in NLP, and you can see the eyes just glaze over, right? Ultimately, we ask customers to be like, well, what kind of result are you actually getting? Because that's the only way you really know, right? What's the difference between a Toyota Corolla and a Tesla? I mean, I can tell you it's an electric vehicle, and yeah, you kind of instinctually understand that. You don't really know, but it has a steering wheel, has four wheels, has four doors. It gets you from point A to point B. And you only really know once you actually drive it, you understand how it actually operates. You have to kind of experience what, quote unquote, the outcome is to really understand what's under the hood.
Yep.
Even if you stay just within gas stations, the highest end Audi to the lowest end. So from that standpoint, we ask people to look at it. So with this example that I told you of, like, most quote unquote smart reply systems are typically getting between 10 and 20% of messages coming from that smart reply, and we're at 7 out of 10. That's a real outcome shift. That's where the benefit to an organization is more transformative. Now you can really do some material things with the productivity enhancement we're getting. And frankly, it's really all about the agents and making them successful. But in the end, people buy because it's an economic benefit to their organization.
Here's that's just where my mind was going, and I'm gonna challenge that.
Yeah.
I hear the stats all the time. Everybody has some number.
Totally.
And for some reason, no one ever says, yeah, you install our stuff, it goes down. It's like always the same story. What I like about learning from you is the stats are always going to change. But if you're introducing something like Spotify, GarageBand, Grammarly, all these metaphors or analogous examples, if what you're doing is you're making the lives and the livelihoods and the learning better for humans who are on the front lines, that is something that's worthy of investing in, regardless of what your stats are or how many this, that, or the other bells. I mean, at its simplest core, I'm on the front lines. I'd like something that helps me, makes it easier.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to look through a knowledge base, to be honest, taking it back to me. I don't want to be looking up a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Let me tell you, this is that I wanted to share with you this anecdote, and that was what my second point. I've been in the enterprise software space my entire career, 25 years or so. And as is typically the case, the people who buy the software aren't necessarily the ones who are going to be using the software.
Exactly.
Right? And
Thank you.
And so a lot of enthusiasm and energy gets spent on how do I convince the buyer to make a buying decision.
Right.
And then the users tend to be an afterthought.
Thank you. Let's normalize being better at that, everyone.
100%. And so this is two things happen at this company that I've never seen before in my career. One is agents actually send us Christmas cards. I kid you not. agents themselves have actually written and sent us, our CEO, a
ASAP.
Christmas card.
Nice, got it.
And the second is we were working with.
I'd like to have one. I'd like to get a picture of one of those cards for my content. I'd be very interested.
I have
share
to
that
confirm whether we
relationship.
can. Yeah, but
Yes.
it just blew my mind. I've never seen end users send the CEO of a software company a Christmas card. The second is that we had one of our airline customers. We were coming in, we were meeting with the team. We were going to do a kind of quarterly business review. Here's the status of everything, what we're looking for, etc. Unbeknownst to us, they went out to their agent population and said, hey, folks, we're going to be meeting with the ASAP team. If there's anything you want to share with them, just take a quick little iPhone selfie video. I'll be damned. 6 minutes, like put together, of selfie videos, agent after agent after agent, took the time on their own to just tell us how much the software helps them. It's astounding. We didn't ask for this. It was it's not on our website. It's not a marketing thing, right? It's just a wonderful expression of the user seeing the value they're getting.
Here's what I would say, Macario. I would love to get some of that, because my thing is, I have to talk about businesses all day long across the country and world about this stuff. And the one thing that I find consistent is I want to help the workers, the humans. I want to help you tell your story. I want to champion the customer care agent on the front line. So in that way, if you can supply me with any content where I can share this story of it is happening on the front lines, this is making a difference. That's what I want to bring. I trust you and your marketing. We'll talk about the speeds and feeds, but I would love if we want to, just after we talk about this, let's get together. That said, we've been talking for a while. It's ASAP. What's ASAP stand for? Okay, all right, ASAP. Is it just ASAP.com?
ASAP.com.
ASAP
with 2 P's.
ASAPP. I'll write something up in the description, but you're sponsoring this event. You're investing, obviously, for sales, but no one comes to these things only for sales. You're connecting with the community.
Yes.
What do you think your connection into the community is, besides providing AI and making the front lines better? You as a person, you're in this community.
Yeah.
And
tell part of what our chief experience officer is going to be up on stage in a little bit and also talking. And we would consider this event successful if we can get people to understand how important making the agent more effective is. And that's what we're evangelizing, that's what we're promoting. Yes, the technology is all good, we'll help you, have solutions and to help you with that. But the more people we can start believing that the era of I could just eliminate all agents and deflect them away, that has a small piece of it, but really the greatest untapped opportunity is make the employees wildly more successful, focus on them, and you're going to have great economic benefit and great customer satisfaction.
Here's what I heard you say, and then I know they're calling us to go into this room. You're bringing us a different kind of digital health to the mental health and to the well-being of the front lines. Macario, thank you for talking to me and letting me do CX in the wild.
Wonderful to meet you.
And so, our time together in the wild has come to an end. To continue your journey with Dennis, connect on LinkedIn or find out more at teamwakabayashi.com. Join us next time as we continue to explore the world of CX in the wild.